We have seen many options in Sketch. Let us see one by one. The first is line. If you see in the line command, I have an arc option also. So here when I'm going to click at one point, my line starts. I can draw at any angle, and here I can end by clicking. And when I release my mouse, again I am ready to draw another line. But when I click on the next point and keep my mouse button clicked, that is, when I do not release my finger from the mouse and then drag it, you can see that I am getting an arc which is tangential to this line. Again I can press at any point, click at any point, and then again I am ready to draw another line. So let's do this simultaneously. That is, I am going to keep it pressed, and then I got an arc, and again I am going to keep it pressed in the same point. Then again I am ready to draw another arc. If I release it and go beyond that point, I can draw another line. But if I keep it pressed, I'll get an arc. And again if I keep it pressed, even after the arc, I can draw another arc which is tangential. So if you observe, all these arcs are tangential to the previous entity, whether it is a line or an arc. Let us see different options present in the rectangle tool. Here you can see the 2-point rectangle. This toolbar is actually customized, but I can again reset it to panel customization. That is, this is the default one that is available. Here that you have the first option which is also available over here, and you can get it using the shortcut key R as 2-point rectangle. So for this, I have to click on one point, and then diagonal point has to be selected so that I get the rectangle. In between, if I want, I can enter these dimensions, or I can edit them by giving D and then giving sketch dimensions. The next option is 3-point rectangle. That is, I'm going to create one point, second point, and then the third point can be above or below. So if I know the length of this line, then I can go for this kind of rectangle. Suppose if you see over here, I'm going for 3-point rectangle, 1 point. Here I can give the second point, that is, I can enter in my keyboard and then click enter. You can see here it is showing the lock symbol, so there it is locked, and then again I can enter my second value, which will determine the breadth or probably even the length also of the other side. Again I can enter a value, say 60, and say enter. Again you see the lock symbol over here, then I can click enter, and then I have this rectangle. Then we have the other option, which is the center rectangle. Suppose if we want our first figure to be symmetric, we can choose the origin as a center point, and from here we can go and select the next point, which will determine the complete dimensions of the length as well as the width. So here, because I have selected the center point about which it is going to be symmetric, I can enter my length over here as 500. I can say enter, and you can see my rectangle is ready. Let us see this rectangle once again. I can go to sketch, rectangle, center rectangle. The first point is a center point. The next point, before clicking the next point, though I can edit the dimensions later, I'm going to enter the dimensions now. So here, if you see the blue highlighted thing, this is the one that I'm going to edit. From my keyboard, I'm giving 200. And then when I click for tab, it will go to the next selection. Here I can enter say 500, and then again if I click tab, it will come back to my first point. So if I want, I can again edit that. Because I'm satisfied with it, now I'm going to click enter so that these dimensions are given as soon as I construct this rectangle instead of going for the dimension command. Next, let us move on to circle command. Here you can see there are many types of circles that we can draw using the different data that is given to us. So the first one is the most simplest one. I just need to select the center and then the diameter I have to enter. You can see here after clicking enter, I'm getting this log symbol. If I click enter here again, then I'll get this circle. Here again I can edit it. So this is the most simplest one, and this is the most often used circle tool. And then we have the next one as a 2-point circle. Here what we have to select is first the point that we are going to click is the point which is going to lie on the circle, and then the other point which is again going to lie on the circle, but you can give the diameter over here. So this other point is going to be the diameter. That is, it is going to decide the diameter. So I say 500, you can see it is logged. Now wherever I want, I can click, or I can just take 2 random points, click, so that I get this circle, and again give the dimensions on my own. The next circle tool is a 3-point circle. So the first point, second point, and the third point is going to decide the diameter. So here you can see only the direction I can change, because already these 2 points are the chord. So they decide the chord, so the other point in this direction or in this direction I have to select. If I click enter again, I can select that point. Let's see how to draw a tangent circle. So here we have 2 tangent circles. First I need 2 lines. These lines can be intersecting lines as well as parallel lines. So I'm selecting these 2 lines, and you can see I can enter the radius, or just click randomly and then again enter the radius. So now I'm selecting these 2, the other 2 lines, and here I have the circle. I'm selecting these 2 lines. Here you can see it is showing 21. I'm giving it as 100. You can see now my circle is extended outside so that it abides to the rules that it has to be tangential and as well as it has to have the radius of 100. Now we have 3 tangent circle, that is we need 3 lines. The 3 lines cannot be parallel to each other. At least one of them should be an intersecting line. So here we know that these 2 lines are not parallel to each other. None of these lines are actually, but there can be 2 lines which are parallel to each other. and the other one can be anywhere else. So I'm going for this option. Circle, 3 tangent circle. So this line, and this line. So at these 3 points I have got this circle. Now I'm trying to dimension this circle. If I give it as 500, because my lines are still not constrained and they do not have dimensions, so it has moved to maintain all the rules, that is cis tangency rules as well as 500 diameter. So next ellipse tool, we have to select the center, then one radius and then the other radius. So this is a very simple tool, just like how you're drawing the circle. For a circle you will first draw the center point and then the radius or diameter. But here, because we need 2 points, so the major axis radius, the minor axis radius also we need. So we are going to click for 3 points. Next, let us move on to arc command. Here I have selected 3-point arc. That is, I need to select 1 point, the next point, and the other 3rd point. Let's do it once again. I can select 3 points, first point, second point, and the 3rd point. So this might be useful when you have some vertices or something like that we want to draw. So suppose if I have this rectangle, if I want to draw an arc, going with this point, and this point. So you will get a circumscribed arc. Then the next option in the arc is the center point arc. This is very simple, just like how you have to select the center first, the second point, and the 3rd point. You can see it is showing the degrees. So usually if you know these dimensions, how many degrees it has to make, you will go for this option. But the first option is the one that is mostly used. The next one is a tangent arc. So how we have seen in the circle tool, here we need one line, and to this I can select the point from where it has to be tangential, and then to this line I will get it tangential. You can see the constraint over here. Now tangent arc. Here I can even select the arc. So to this arc, again the point, from the point it will be tangential. If you are using the education version, then you can see that all the commands or the tools that we need, it will guide us, especially in Sketch, on how they have to be drawn. If you can see over here, I'm going for slot. So each slot, if I click center to center slot, it will be guiding me here and letting me know how I need to create this slot. Here you can read, creates a linear slot defined by placement and distance of slot, arc centers, and by slot width. So based on these hints, we can understand in which conditions we have to select these tools. So here I have selected 2 points, and then I'm going to decide the diameter of the arcs. So this is one kind of slot. This is the overall slot in which I'll be selecting 3 points. But here, if you see, previously I had selected the 2 center points of the arc, but here I'm going to create by selecting first of all these 2 points which are going to decide the end width. Then there is a center point slot. So here I'll be selecting first the center point, then this point, and then the radius. Then we have 3-point arc slot. This is same as drawing an arc, about which 3-point arc you know how to draw. So this 3-point arc, offsetting to this, we are going to get this slot. So then the last one is center point 2-point slot arc, in which we will be deciding the center point first, then the arc, like how we have chosen for arc, and then the offset. We'll be selecting the offset. Next we'll move on to the polygon tool. Here I have circumscribed polygon. That is, if I know the diameter or radius of the circle about which this polygon has to be created, then I can choose this option. So first I've clicked on the center point of the circle, and then I'm going to decide the radius of this. Say suppose it is 200. I can click enter because I need 6, because 6 is the default. But if I want 5, what I can do is I can choose the same option. I can click on the center, then I can put 600 as my diameter, and here I'm going to click tab so that that part is locked. Now even if I move, I can move it only around it because I have locked it by clicking tab. Again I'm clicking tab so that it moves to the next command. So here I can give the number of sides of the polygon, which is 9 right now. Similarly, if we know the radius or diameter of the circle in which our polygon is to be inscribed, then we can go for the inscribed polygon option. So here you can see the commands are almost the same. That is the diameter. Here I can enter as 500. Click tab. Here again it won't move because I have clicked tab. Again I'm clicking tab so that I get this option. Again if I want to change, I can click tab again, arrest it at 8, and then I can give 400. So if I'm not satisfied, again I can change this by clicking tab in here. So this is a good option because you can actually decide the dimensions while you're constructing the polygon instead of again going for the dimension command. But what if you know the length of the polygon? So here for that we have another option. This is called the edge polygon option. So here I can draw a line. Okay. This is the side of the polygon. So here you can see I can dimension it. So I'm giving one side as 100. And then I can click enter, and here you can see the number of sides I can give. So, which I'm giving as 5. Okay, let's see this command once again. I'm going for edge polygon. I can draw a line. Let me give it as 1000. Then I can give the number of sides, whether it is this side or that side. Okay, so now here I am giving it as 3 to make it a triangle. The basic tool for any drawing is a point, of course, because that is the first thing that we are going to select. So here we have an option called point. So in create sketch, we can create as many points as we want, dimension them, and then create our polygons or circles wherever we want. So here you can see in many ways I can dimension it. So here now it is fully constrained. So instead of this diagonal dimension, I can give linear dimension one more. So even now it is fully constrained. So similarly I can create many points at any place that I want. The next option is, I'm going to erase all these points. Next interesting tool that we have is text. So here I have selected that tool. I can click on the screen and then from there my text is going to start, and here the text dialog box opens. Here I can create any message or anything that I want to emboss on any product. See, suppose I'm giving Mechatheart. I can adjust the height. I can also adjust the angle. Here you can see I can either rotate it or I can give it with respect to the horizontal plane 20 degrees. Okay, I can also edit the font of this. There are a number of fonts given, so I can select any font from here and I can make it bold, I can make it italic, or I can make it, I can select underline command also. So I can flip this also, that is, it will be as a mirror image, but I'm actually comfortable with this vertical flip, horizontal flip. Okay, so I can say okay. So this will help in embossing on any product or just having this text as a logo kind of thing on a product. In this lecture, let us learn about constraints. Constraints are the limitations or rules and regulations that we apply to sketching entities. Here in the sketch palette, we can see the constraints. We have a number of constraints like coincident, collinear, concentric, etc. First of all, you can highlight the show constraints so that the constraints are visible to us. So first I'm applying the concentric constraint to these two circles. So the two circles will turn concentric to each other. Now the horizontal and the vertical constraint I can use so that these two dots are aligned. Then I can use the equality constraints to make the circles equal. That is, their diameter will be equal. Now using the symmetry constraint, I can make these two circles symmetric to this line. Now if I move this line, you can see that because it has to maintain the rule, both the circles will be symmetric. Now you can see when I'm dragging, the circle is moving here and there. It is changing the size also. If I do not know the dimension but I do not want it to move from its place, I can use the fix or unfix option. So I have to select the entity first or select the icon first and then click on the entity. You can see it has turned green. Now I won't be able to drag it. Next, let us apply again the horizontal constraint. And now the collinear constraint. These two lines will be collinear to each other. So when I'm dragging, you can see the constraints will remain intact. Now the tangency constraint to this line and the circle. Now using the coincident constraint, I can keep these two intersecting lines together. Now I am taking the equality constraint for making these lines equal in length. Now for these two lines, I can apply the perpendicular constraint. Now you can see there are only a few constraints that are highlighted when I select a particular entity. So only the possible constraints will be shown for that particular entity, which I can also get by right-clicking that entity. So even without going to the sketch palette, just by right-clicking, we can obtain the constraints that can be applied to that entity. Now I'm going to create a spline over here. If you see here, so here I have to use the curvature constraint. Now if I remove this show constraints, you can see that I will not be able to see the constraints, but they still are available. Only the symbols will be vanishing. Let's see the fillet command. For this, I'm drawing this rectangle. Now I can go to fillet and I can select these two lines and have the fillet between, or I can even select the intersecting point. If you can see here, just selecting this intersecting point and clicking on that point so that I get the fillet. Fillets can also be given between lines and arcs. So here I have a rectangle and here I have an arc. I'm going to draw an arc. So I can take the fillet option and I can click in between these two to create a fillet. Here again, in between these two, I can create a fillet. Fillet can also be created between splines and lines. Suppose if I have a spline and I'm going to draw a line, Going to fillet option, I'm selecting this spline and this line. If you can see, I've got this fillet. Let us see trim, extend and break tools. For this, I'm drawing some random lines. And some other random figures. If you can see here, I have drawn all this as closed figures mostly except these lines. So if I'm selecting this line, it will be selected as one line because this has been drawn under one command. And this lines also. But when I'm extruding it, if I want, I can select only this inner portion. So it is showing some kind of Boolean operations while I'm selecting. In Sketch, I can actually disconnect this line from these other lines. So I'm going to trim. In the trim command, I can delete this portion which is extending beyond certain other intersecting entity. That is, for this line has been intersecting it, and I can delete this line. But if I want to only make it as a separate entity by not deleting it, I have to choose the break option. So here you can see I'm again doing undo by clicking Ctrl Z. Now I'm going to break tool. Here what I can do is, here if you see, it's only going to break it over here at the place where it is intersecting. So when I break the tool, again I'm breaking it here. I'm saying OK, I'm coming out of the command. Now you can see I can select this as a separate line. But previously I was able to select this whole thing as one line. Now if I want, I can either change it, move it here and there. So this is a main difference between trim and break. The break tool only separates it from that, but it is not going to delete it. But a trim tool actually deletes the extended portion or the intersecting portion which is being selected. Now you can see the extend tool. What this extend tool does is it will extend any entity till the next entity, nearest entity you can say. So here you can see if I'm selecting this line, it is going to extend it till this circle. If I am selecting this line, it is extending it till this line. Again, I can extend this line till this line. So in the previous case, if you have seen, it has actually extended it till the intersecting line because this is the nearest entity. Let me show it once again. Now when I am trying to extend this line, it will extend to the nearest entity. Because this line is the nearest entity, it was extending only till this extension point of this line. If this does not exist, it would have extended towards this circle. Suppose if I am deleting this line, you can see when I go for the extend tool, it is extending till this circle. But if I am keeping that line, you can see the extend tool extends till the nearest point. And here again, because this line exists, it is extending only till here. If this line does not exist, this line would have extended till this circle. Let us see that once again. So I'm deleting this line. And when I say extend, you can see it is extending till this line. So extend tool extends till the nearest entity. Trim tool deletes the extended portions or the portion which is selected. And the break tool breaks the complete entity at the intersection points.
Under Sketch, we have Offset tool. Let us see how to use this. For this, I am going to take a plane and sketch a rectangle. Go to Sketch and go for Offset. O is the shortcut. So here, for sketch curves, I can choose this rectangle and I can choose whether the whole rectangle has to be chosen or only one line. So for this, I can toggle chain selection option. So now that everything is selected, I can give the offset distance. Either inside or outside. Then I can click OK. Now I'm removing this. Let us sketch something else. I'm going to sketch a circle. And here I'm going to trim. So this is a more complex thing than what we had done previously. So when I click the offset, you can see that this whole thing is going to be offset. So if I had to draw something around it, it would have been difficult without the offset tool. Now let us have a look at the mirror tool. So for this, I'm going to draw a rectangle. Now I'm going to draw two lines and I'm going to turn these two lines into construction by selecting them and selecting this construction option. Now go for mirror tool. So first I need to select the objects. For this, choose this rectangle. Now I have selected the center line and you can see how it has been mirrored. Now you can actually select the horizontal line and test how this rectangle is going to be changed. You can see the symmetry constraint has been created automatically when we choose the mirror option. So these two will remain symmetric to each other.
In this video, let us see Sketch Project tool. For this, we need an existing product, and here you can see I have constructed a plane which I am going to select as my sketching plane. What the project tool does is I can project any of these lines or vertices that are available previously in my product, and I can project them to the sketching plane. So here I have selected the sketching plane as the newly constructed plane. Here I can project this circle to this plane. I'm going to sketch, project. You can also click P in the keyboard. So here my dialog box opens. I can select the geometry which has to be projected. So I'm going for the entities option, where I can select individual entities like line, circle or anything that I have drawn previously. So now I have projected the circle and it appears in purple color. If I'm selecting bodies, the outer contour of the previous body that is selected will be projected. Here the outer contour is a rectangle, so this has been projected onto my sketching plane. I can also select individual entities like these lines. It is a good practice to use project tool to create new sketches when they have to take reference from the already created entities. This is because when the old sketches are updated, the projected entities automatically get updated. In the sketch project, there is another option called intersect. In the previous video, we have seen that we had selected this plane as our sketching plane. Now this sketching plane does not have any of these features projected onto this plane. Now suppose if I have this sketching plane as this face, you can see that I already have some lines on this plane. So these can be projected using intersect option. They can also be projected using project option, but this feature, the second one which you see here, intersect, will help us in projecting the lines which already exist on the sketching plane. So if you see, if I'm selecting this as my sketching plane, you can see that this circle and this rectangle are only the existing things that can easily be projected onto that face using the intersect option. I'm selecting this plane as my sketching plane. I can directly go to intersect option. I can select the body and you can see all at a time all the existing entities which are already present on the sketching plane are intersected. Using the sketch scale tool, we can either enlarge or reduce the size of a figure. Here I have a rectangle. I'm going to sketch scale tool. This dialog box opens. Here it is first asking me to select the entities. I am box selecting the rectangle. Then it is asking me the point, the anchor point, which will remain unchanged and from where the whole figure will be scaled. So I'm selecting the origin. Now the scale factor is 1. You can see the dimensions are 20 by 40. Now I'm going for 10 as a scale factor. That is, it is going to increase the size by 10 times. Now I'm clicking on fit. Now I can go to dimensions and now you can see that the dimensions have increased by 10 times. Sketch scale tool can be used for any kind of contour. I'm taking a spline. Now I would like to scale this spline. Now I'm selecting this as the anchor point. I'm increasing it by twice. The cream color figure is actually showing the original diagram. I can even reduce it by half by giving 0.5 as the scale factor. So this is how we can scale. In this video, let us learn about circular pattern. So I'm taking this entity. Now I need to pattern this in a circular manner. I'm going for circular pattern. This dialog box opens. Now first I need to select the objects which I need to pattern. Then I have to select the center point. So I'm selecting this point. Now you can see around this point these entities are being created. Now this is a full circle. So if I need all these entities only up to a certain angle, I can select it over here. Like within 180 degrees, these three are created. So even if I increase the quantity, these all will remain within the angle of 180 degrees. I'm again going for full. And I can also choose symmetric. Symmetric in the sense, this side and that side, it's going to remain the same number. So if I have 4, on one side it will be more. So the total angle is 360. There's actually no meaning of symmetry because it's a complete circle. It's just going to form. So I can take it as 60 degrees. You can see symmetrically about 60 degrees, that side and this side. It is going to be 2 when I take 5 as the quantity. Now if I want, I can suppress them. Usually the entity that we use is full, the quantity that we use is full. So now if I want, I can suppress certain features. Suppose I can click here so that that feature does not appear. So similarly, any entity, any shape or a combination of shapes can be patterned around a center. Center point can be a singular point or a vertex of already existing product also. So let us learn about rectangular pattern. So for this I need some entities. I can create a rectangle or a spline. So this one I can go for rectangular pattern. I need to select the objects. I'm box selecting them. Here I have 13 selected. So the direction I need to select. Usually the default is horizontal and vertical. You can see I'm dragging. The default is 3. I can have it in both the directions. So I can even select this one. So I have it in 2 directions. Now on these 2 directions I can have independent number of quantities. That is, here I can have 5 and the below one I can have just 3. The number of rows and columns can vary. And this is the distance. Because I have selected extent option, within this distance of 90 mm it is going to have this pattern. But I can change it to spacing. That is, the spacing between 2 entities, consecutive patterns, should be say 50. Okay. So if I'm increasing the quantity, you can see the next entity is being created at a distance 50 from the last entity. So similarly here also, if I need it symmetric, you can see the same option, this side and that side, equal number will be created. Here also I can choose that so that one will be at the top and another will be at the bottom. Suppress option is the same as how we have seen in circular pattern. So if I need everything, I don't need to click this one. I can keep it unhighlighted, unchecked, so that everything is visible. Now I'm Control Z. I have clicked and I'm undoing this. Now let us see if we can pattern it about any given direction. So I'm selecting all these entities and then selecting the option. I can right click and I can say sketch. Under sketch I have rectangular pattern. Here in the direction I can select this direction, so that now you can see I can create this pattern along this line, which is indicating the direction of the pattern, and all the other options remain same.